Hello and welcome to episode 26 of the Nostalgia Bubble podcast, the show where two lifelong best friends celebrate the movies that they love. I'm with your host Shuggy, an amateur film reviewer and nerd.
And I am Nye, also an amateur film reviewer and nerd.
I've just remembered last time I introduced this show as your awards master for this evening, because it's the Bubbles.
Ah, yeah, of course. I think you're going to be awards master this evening, though, no?
Yeah, I'll introduce all the awards this time.
I'll pass the torch.
So yeah, we're come to the end of the second season. It's been a great season, I think. So many varied, amazing films. And so we're just going to celebrate, look back over those films and pick some categories, some actual thoughtful ones and some stupid ones as well. Nye, what are your thoughts on the season?
I thought we had a great season. We had our first guest on, which seems like a million years ago. But it was lovely to have Ronnie on the show. And I thought we had some really good films. I think I said last week that, there wasn't one film that I didn't enjoy, despite my preconceptions and my reservations about some of them. It was really nice to actually delve into some picks that really were especially nostalgic for me. I feel as though I got the chance to do that a little more this season. Obviously last season we kind of leaned into some themes a little more, so we were slightly more restricted in our choice of films. But yeah, this season I really got the chance to choose some films that were part of my childhood, actually, and also you came up with some great picks yourself, and a couple of which were, Raiders was on my list as well, so I've had to change my Indiana Jones pick at some point, as was Inglourious Basterds. So, had a couple of nice little crossovers as well.
Yeah. I'd say great to have Ronnie on. I thought that was an awesome episode. I thought she was absolutely fantastic. I agree with you. There's not been a single film I haven't enjoyed this season. Some I've never heard of, like Blast from the Past. I really enjoyed that as well. I think every film this season has been great. We've had some really interesting debates. I just think it's been an excellent season. Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to season 3.
Yeah. It's a lower standard of guest opening that one, I think.
Yeah.
He won't listen to this, it's fine. We love you, Mikey. There's a spoiler for you.
Can't wait to have him on.
Let's dive into some awards.
Yes, let's get straight into it.
And we always open with our favourite film of the season. Normally this kind of would be your final award, but that's obviously... There's a titular award we've got to go with. So we're opening with favourite film.
Yeah.
And Nye, why don't you take us away with this one?
Okay. So my favourite film, as if you probably couldn't have guessed already, is Good Will Hunting. I kind of made the point when picking it that as it was my last pick of the season, I was going to go with a favourite. And yeah, this is one of the films that I would take into a bunker with me and just watch over and over again. There's so much I love about this film. It's got its ups and downs, and it's emotional, it's funny, it's fantastically written, beautifully acted, I just absolutely adore this film. So that for me is my favourite film of the season.
It's a great pick. Terrific film, and one of the top acting performances we've had this season as well, which we'll get more onto that in a sec. But Robin Williams, just stunning. Yeah,
I was umming and ahhing and toing and froing about that, but I think possibly we can agree that there's only one that award goes to, but we'll see.
When we get there.
And yourself?
Yeah, so for me, again, this is a pretty clear pick for me. There's only one film that we've had this season that I said is in my top 5 films of all time, and that's Spirited Away. I adore everything Studio Ghibli does, pretty much, and this is the pinnacle for me. This is the one that introduced me to Studio Ghibli, and if you couldn't guess from like my pick of Hellboy 2 this season, and like my favourite sequence in that being the troll market, this is exactly my kind of vibe of a film. Just weird fantasy. I adore everything about it. It's beautiful. It's moving. It's got deep themes if you want to dive into them. It's got some of the most innovative design characters you'll see out there. It's funny, it's heartbreaking, it's got everything for me.
Yeah, I really was surprised at how much I enjoyed this film.
Yeah.
You'd been trying to get me to watch it for a while, so it was nice to actually finally get a chance to watch it. It definitely warrants a second viewing for me, I think. But yeah, I did really enjoy it, and I think visually stunning. That was the one thing that I kind of took away from this film. I think everything that you just said about it and your nod to Hellboy as well segues very nicely into the next award, my picks for the next award. Okay. But yeah, no, I loved this film. It was really good, and I'm glad that I've got a chance to see it for you as well. So now that we talk about it, when you talk about it, I get the references too.
Yeah, and you bring up our next award, and it's an interesting one. It's the biggest double TF moment. Obviously, last season we had a clear, far and away winner in Hereditary, but I think it was a less clear pick this season. For me, it is the entire final chase sequence in Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, okay. How come?
Purely because they actually did that. They actually did 90% of that with stunt performers and real practical effects. You know, they put people on those poles and sent them bouncing around on cars. Yeah. It's genuinely an incredible feat that, you know, someone managed to achieve that in mostly practical effects, and it makes me go WTF every time.
So it's more of a mind blown kind of WTF.
Yeah, for sure.
Mine was more of a what is going on? This is mad. Right. WTF. I have a couple of mentions here. The winner for me is the entirety of Spirited Away, which I think is quite appropriate, but lovely at the same time. A special mention for Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. The Troll Market is one of them. The one that immediately popped into my head, which I did mention in the episode, was the Forest God Phallus. That jumped out at me. Quite literally jumped out at me, it was nice. We've had some good kind of funny, weird moments in these films. Another one was the pie eating contest
That's a good pick.
In Stand By Me. Not because it doesn't fit with the film or doesn't seem out of place, just because it escalates and ends up being just this absolutely hectic WTF scene, and you're sitting there wondering what's just happened. There are plenty of other things that I could point out as well through the season, but
I really like that honourable mention, because the whole idea of it being a story being told by a kid to his friends to elicit that exact WTF reaction from them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So credit to the writing, and absolutely a very, very honourable mention there.
We teased this award as well. It's time we have to discuss the best acting performance. I think there's 2 or 3 potential options here. What have you gone with in the end, Nye?
Well, yeah, I think you're right. There's definitely 2 or 3 potentials. We've both already mentioned Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting. I think going into this season, we already knew, or you certainly already knew. I think it, for me, still has to be Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Bastards.
Unbelievable. Who could have seen it coming? That's also my number 1.
Unbelievable, Jeff. Yeah. I think it is just... Going into this season was an iconic performance. Coming out of the season has been unparalleled.
Yeah, I mean, it's so creepy and sadistic. Like, you love to hate it. That's what you want in a villain. It's so magnetic, though. Like, you can't take your eyes away from it. Yeah. He toys with the characters in the film. He toys with the audience. It's just an unbelievable performance. Yeah. And as Tarantino said, he gave them their movie back, because without someone like him to deliver that performance, there is no Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I would also give a huge shout out, especially to Brad Pitt in that film as well, who, you know, was in no way overshadowed by Christoph Waltz's performance, especially when they were kind of acting face to face. Just out of interest, who are your other special mentions on that one?
So we already mentioned Robin Williams, River
Yeah.
Phoenix as well.
Yes, another one that
What
came to mind.
Yeah, what a
Yeah,
performance from such a young actor! Incredible.
absolutely. Yeah.
We go on to our fourth award, and it's the Most Dramatic Moment Award. Again, much like WTF, this is something that's open to interpretation.
Yeah.
And for me, I've gone with just the acting performances in Spirited Away.
Okay.
So there is just a very it's a very typical anime style of acting where everything is incredibly heightened, and you know there's lots of shouting and emphatic voices, particularly if you go to the Japanese version of the film and watch it with subtitles, even more so than the dubbed version. If you ever go watching the Japanese version, it's obviously even more dramatic in its performances, and that's just a very typical anime thing. I also do want to give a shout out to the Doof Warrior and his flaming guitar from Mad Max Fury Road as well. Just so extra.
I was sure that was going to come up at some point. So yeah, for me, there was one performance in particular that kind of stood out for me as sort of most dramatic, over the top, not serious acting, and that was Ben Stiller in Mystery Men. Just
Yeah, okay.
outrageous, stupid, not always the most convincing, and I think he does a lot of this stuff, but it worked well for the film, and I feel like it kind of, as much as I hate to say this, I feel like his performance elevated the film to make it what it was.
That's absolutely a great pick.
Yeah, I felt that it was appropriate for this award. The one award I will ever feel Ben Stiller is eligible for.
And we'll make sure he gets a physical award.
Apart from possibly a raspberry.
That was our fourth award. We're moving on now to the best reference. Again, this is one that's very open to interpretation. And I'd love to see kind of how you decided to take this one now.
Yeah, so this one was quite a literal reference. It was pretty on the nose, in your face. But there's a reason I love it so much. So my favourite for this one was actually Sam's Shawshank Redemption escape in Moonrise Kingdom. Which, there were a couple of logical things that we pointed out with that, with like, how did he put the poster back up, etc.
Why didn't he just unzip and zip up the tent?
Exactly, yeah. But the reason I love this is because the film is set in a time that is before the Shawshank Redemption came out.
So and it's just an original idea.
Yeah, I love that there's this sort of inception about it. And it seemed really fitting with the film, that it was kind of appropriate for the context but really out of place at the same time, and it just kind of summed up in the first 5 minutes of the film. And I mean, to be honest, in terms of we've spoken about a lot of the WTF moments, and this is full of them. And they're just so lovable and warm and joyful, and when it came to the reference, for me, this was the one.
It was definitely on my shortlist. Other things on the shortlist, I mentioned at the end of Stand By Me that there is a reference in the original Pokemon game.
Of
that
course.
They're watching Spirited Away on telly.
Yeah. Stand By Me on telly.
Yes. I am, I mess up names all the time, so I'm going to just mess up two of our films. In Inglourious Bastards, the fact that the title itself is a reference to a 1978 Italian film whose director actually cameos within Inglourious Bastards, I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
In Raiders of the Lost Ark, little hieroglyphics of R2-D2 and C-3PO. A little Spielberg and George Lucas nod to Star Wars there.
Brilliant.
The one I have to go for, though, is in Monsters, Inc., Boo having a little clownfish toy, teasing Finding Nemo full 2 years before Finding Nemo was released. You know, you, the audience, at the time in 2001, probably don't even know what Finding Nemo is, probably have no idea that this is a reference to something that's coming.
Yeah.
And it's only on revisits once that film comes out that you get the reference, and it just makes it even sweeter.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, we did have that conversation during the episode, didn't we, about how, you know, Pixar and Disney are very good at kind of making links between films, even if it's just visual and nothing more. But yeah, I mean, when you kind of explain it like that, and you sort of, in the sense that, you know, everybody watching this film will have been completely unaware of Finding Nemo coming out and its genesis, you know, 2 years later to go back and have this whole new experience that they can bring to even Monsters, Inc. is a lovely little reference.
Yeah. So we move now on to the most heartfelt moment from the season. Again, I had a ton of options here.
Yeah.
A couple of, you know, Monsters, Inc. ones, the final shot, the moment where Boo has nothing in her closet after Sully shreds the door. Stand By Me, when Chris admits what happened with the money. River Phoenix is incredible in that scene.
Yeah.
Just one that always hits me home because I'm such a big fan is Wash's death in Serenity. But my pick for the most heartfelt moment of the season is the It's Not Your Fault scene in Good Will Hunting.
Oh, this was on my shortlist as well. I mean, for me, the whole of Good Will Hunting was on my shortlist.
Yeah, that's fair.
It is just littered with these heartfelt moments. And, you know, I will say it one more time, supplemented by the brilliant writing of the film. Yeah, great pick. You've actually nodded to two of my next picks, or my next pick of this one, and a nomination for the one after. But yeah, for me, the most heartfelt moment, I think just because it takes me back and still every single time hits me right in the feels where it hurts, is the Kitty moment right at the end of Monsters, Inc. Where, and you know, we mentioned how all you see is Sully's face.
Yeah.
And it just, like, even now makes me want to cry just thinking about it. And, you know, how you see that kind of paternal love just exude from his face at the end. And you never get to see it, you just get to feel it. And yeah, for me, every single time, that was my pick for this season. Yeah,
I think, like, those Monsters, Inc. ones, they were like, nothing's beating this all season. And then you came in with Good Will Hunting, and that It's Not Your Fault scene just broke me again. Like, it's so raw. Matt Damon and Robin Williams just giving these completely emotional, vulnerable performances.
Absolutely.
It's brilliant. But as you say, that final shot from Monsters, Inc. is also... Again, there were floods of tears for that as well. Like, there was a lot of crying from some of your picks this season.
It is just, you know, I think the way, for me, it was just the way that animation, they did such a good job of making an animated film hit home and, you know, encourage you to feel all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And yeah, it for me was... Yeah, I feel like because it was very nostalgic, it was a nostalgic moment as well. That was absolutely my pick. But gosh, Good Will Hunting is just one big sob party, isn't it?
Yeah, some emotion. You've picked some emotional films this season, no?
I have actually. I'm gonna have to pick it up. Come in with comedies for the whole of the next season.
No, I love it. Make me cry. I love crying at movies. I cry at a lot of them. We go into our penultimate award, and it is what we believe is the best film quote of the season. Nye, what have you got for me here?
It's a bingo!
Oh, it's a good one.
Had to be my pick. Yeah, this one had to be. It's one that I quote all the time.
You just say bingo, mate. You just say bingo.
No. I have to say
No.
it like this now. I can't
Well, no,
say
that's
bingo.
That's the follow up line.
No, I know, but I can't say bingo anymore. I just have to say it's a bingo, and I say it in the voice as well. Or I
Listen,
try.
if I could have done a Brad Pitt impression, I would have there, but I can't.
Gorlami.
Gorlami.
Gorlami. See, this is. I think there've been loads of really cool film quotes, whether they make sense or not. So that was my winner. And you know, I could have picked out so many. Another one you've already kind of touched on it is I'm a leaf on the wind. Watch how I soar.
Definitely. Yeah,
just the way,
for me.
just the way that it was impaled by, for lack of a better phrase, by this moment of shock and violence, and it's just like that contrast of such a serene, for lack of a better phrase, serene moment is just, it was very, very well done, and I didn't enjoy the moment, but I enjoyed the way that it was used.
It's an iconic one in the brown coat community for sure.
Yeah, I think that was another thing that kind of swayed me to add this onto the shortlist was, you know, it's a quote that has stuck with the fans of the film as well.
Yeah. For me, there's only one quote that has made me change some of the built-in introduction of the show. And it's, oh, what a day. What a lovely day.
I was expecting that one.
The deranged performance from Nick Holt in that moment is phenomenal. Like, he just giving it 100%. And it's one of those ones that, you know, it was so iconic, I think, in the trailers. Like, I think it was one of the kind of big moments. There's a few others from that film that are great as well. You know, Immortan Joe's mediocre.
Yeah.
That's been used a lot. And I know the gif of Max going, "That's bait," is a very popular internet one as well.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that, oh, what a lovely day is, you know, just so in keeping with the title and the theme of the film.
Yeah.
It is crazy. And yeah, Nick Holt did nail the line.
I want to give some other shout outs. The one that like didn't quite count for me is the final line of "Stand By Me," of, you know, whoever had friends when they were, you know, who had friends like when they were 12 or something like that. You know, the only issue is it's written, it's never actually spoken.
Yeah,
so
the delivery doesn't hit home in the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put that thing back where it came from. Also help me. So help me.
I was waiting for it.
It's a great one.
Yeah.
And I love from Raiders of the Lost Ark, just John Rhys Davis's "Bad Dates."
Yes. Oh gosh, I forgot about that.
It's one of my favourites.
Yeah, that is one that you did shine a light on during the episode as well. Yeah.
I mean, you know me, I love to quote my favourite random lines that just get stuck in my head. And we finish off, of course, with the most nostalgic film. We're all about nostalgia. There's been some big nostalgic picks this season. For me, I came out of the gate with my most nostalgic film. I think that was my first one, was Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is one, much like Star Wars last season for you, like, these are like foundation films in my childhood. These are the ones that, like, my love of film originated on, my geekdom originated on. It has to be, for me, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah. I think I took a slightly different approach to you with this one. So, in terms of, you know, my love of film being shaped, and it is on my shortlist, I would say Raiders as well. It is one of those films that I've been watching. You know, I watched Indiana Jones as a kid, and I remember absolutely falling in love with it, and, you know, watching it with my dad as well, has some really fond memories. And similarly, Mystery Men was also on my shortlist, because, again, I had some great memories of watching it with my dad. It was really nice to kind of remember as I went along as well, whereas with Raiders that didn't happen so much. So it didn't have that same kind of, I didn't get that wave of nostalgia watching it, if that makes sense. Even if it doesn't necessarily hold the same place in my childhood as Mystery Men, or vice versa. Sorry. So, but my choice, and kind of for a mix of both reasons, was Stand By Me. Again, I hadn't seen this film for years. I remembered pretty much all of it, but being able to piece it together again and remember it as a full film, whilst also kind of experiencing that, or re-experiencing that love that I had for it when I watched it as a kid, was just particularly special. So for me, the most nostalgic film this season was Stand By Me, with, you know, Raiders and Mystery Men coming in a very close second and third.
That's a great pick. As I say, my first experience of actually watching Stand By Me was in this season. It was kind of one of those 80s films that you know hear about and get hyped up, and I was worried it would disappoint me like something like Goonies has or E.T. has, but it didn't. It absolutely delivers. And yeah, I can see why, if you watched it in your childhood, it would definitely be one of the most nostalgic ones out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, overall, I felt we had some absolutely fantastic picks this season. I'm so glad that I got to watch some of the films that you suggested. You know,
Vice versa as well.
I think because you kind of ran with a theme of going with your favourite characters, and so that meant that I got to watch films that almost kind of shape you and your love of film in a way that, you know, just kind of choosing a film you love wouldn't. I think it gives you sort of more of a personal connection to each film. And so I was really glad that I got to watch those films with you, and kind of get to discuss that. So yeah, thank you.
Oh no, thank you for saying that. I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. And thank you for segueing so nicely into our closer for the day.
Oh God,
which we'll just do now. Which, yeah, obviously this season, and I want you to think about some of yours here. I'll talk a bit before to not put you on the spot.
Okay.
Obviously this season I focused on many of my favourite movie characters. We had, you know, Indiana Jones, we had Hellboy, we had Lieutenant Aldo Rain, we had Captain Reynolds, we had Chihiro/Sen, and we had Furiosa from my picks this season. I just want to talk about some of the ones who didn't quite make it. There's a couple of films I didn't necessarily want to pick in this season. Specifically, we'll start Lord of the Rings. My all-time favourite movie character is Aragorn. Didn't necessarily want to go with him.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
We have plans in the works, people.
We might have plans in the works. One of my favourite character from Star Wars is a character called Ahsoka Tano, who recently appeared in The Mandalorian, but she originated in like the animated shows. The problem is that her only film appearance is in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, which is a really terrible film. It's essentially 3 not great episodes of the animated show just bolted together.
Right.
So yeah, it's not the best. Also, maybe one that might surprise you being one of my all-time favourite characters is Ralph Fiennes' M. Gustav from Grand Budapest Hotel. Okay. I didn't want to go with another Wes Anderson film in this season.
Yeah.
I also didn't... I kind of only wanted to go with one superhero/comic book film, so I didn't go with Wolverine, aka the film Logan, or Thor from Thor Ragnarok either. I decided to go with Hellboy.
Yeah, you did mention when you chose Hellboy that you wanted to do something a little less conventional.
And then, so the last couple to run through that were in very high contention, I just didn't have all the picks to go through them. My last kind of 4 or 5 favourite characters, Maximus from Gladiator. That film would have swept up the Best Quotes Award, by the way.
Yeah, I was about to ask, actually, what is his full name?
Maximus Decimus Meridius, Commander of the Legions of the North, General of the Phoenix Legions, servant to the true Emperor, Marcus Aurelius.
There we go. That's the only way you should be able to say his name, Shug.
Father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife.
There you go, that's all the quotes for the next season.
Yeah. Renton, aka Ewan McGregor's character from Trainspotting. Trainspotting is a seminal film for any Scotsman. It will come up at some point. Another Quentin Tarantino one, O-Ren Ishii from Kill Bill, aka Lucy Liu, who is the commander of the Crazy 88. I think she's just awesome. And finally, possibly the most adorable character to have ever existed in anything ever is Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon.
A film I haven't watched. Yeah.
We might have to rectify that.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
So yeah, those are some of my favourite movie characters. I'd love to hear some of yours, Knight. This is kind of why I wanted to do this, and I've given you some time. What have you got for me?
I still feel very much on the spot.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you ask me, I cannot remember any of them. And I don't know... I struggle, see, in the way that you are very good at separating opinion from sort of, or you're very good at being both subjective and objective. I am not so much, and similarly I struggle to separate the acting from the character. So in terms of favourite acting performances, that is, although very different to favourite characters, I probably struggle to distinguish between the two.
If you don't have an answer, that's fine. You've just let me kind of talk about some of mine. That's also okay.
That's fine. I don't really have an answer. I will probably, at some point, do a season of my favourite acting performances.
Okay.
At some point. But yeah, it just depends on when we get around to that. So in terms of favourite characters, I can't think of any off the top of my head.
That's fine. I've given plenty for both of us.
Sorry to let down the whole season so gently.
Yeah. Well, this season's a write-off. We'll be back next time. and we're out, and that's it. No. We will close up the show properly. Yeah. So we will now be taking another, few months break. We hope to be back sort of in October for a start of season 3, where we will, of course, have some themed Halloween and Christmas episodes for you as well in those. And we've kind of already spoiled, we will be opening with a guest again.
Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, it should be excellent. Until then, you can find us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcasts. Really, if we're not somewhere, please let us know if you want us to try and get on some platform. You can follow us at Nostalgia Bubble on Twitter and at Nostalgia Bubble Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. You can follow me at Shuggy Says everywhere on the internet. That's SHUGGIE Says.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Nyrees, NYEREES, and on Instagram at ReesNye.
And we'll see you next season. Bye-bye.
See you soon.